where we're here about is like we like a lot of other people in Montgomery County are really excited about the new changes that are happening in our county, that there's this new vision in our county that's based on um, equitable and fair development for people, and we think that's been a long time coming, and we really want to be active and take part of it, and so does our community. So um, it's okay that I do that, right? Because okay, you're going to edit it.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, we can just pause, do whatever we want.
and we think that actually Forest Glen sector plan will be the first test of whether or not we're serious about equity and people working together to build a better county for everyone is really going to happen in this county. So we're excited to be the first out of the gate on that. And just to give you a little idea about what our community is like, we pulled off the county website this nice picture of the four quadrants of our study plan, and two at the bottom are in Montgomery Hills, and the two at the top are in Forest Glen, and we're the green one in the top. And the green one in the top is we're by far the largest in population. We have about 7,000. The one across the street, the quadrant across the street, has about 2,500 people in it. We have the most older people. We're 49% people of color here. We're by far the most diverse. We also have a lot of people on food stamps here. We're the highest in that area, and we have also many children here, and no parks. So we have the fewest parks that are available within walking distance of people here. And so we think we're a really great place to do this equitable development test in the county that we're so excited to do. Um, One of the things that when I describe our area like this, it isn't exactly the area where, if you're going to do development to put more people on Metro, it isn't the place that you would think you would target 500 millennials in luxury apartments. But anyway, so you're a millennial. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, so to reiterate, I'm Max Barnhart. I've lived in Americana Finnmark for about 4 years now. Moved back in with my folks after I graduated from UMBC. Go Retrievers. And I think that if you're a millennial and you want to move somewhere, why would you move to Forest Glen when Silver Spring and Wheaton are populous downtown areas with all of the amenities, the bars, the people, the restaurants that they would want to go to in the evenings, you know? And that, I mean, I wouldn't move there. I wouldn't move here if I did it, if I had the option to move elsewhere, especially because the rents, if they build new luxury apartments, are going to be close to that you would pay in Silver Spring. So if the costs are going to be that high, you're going to end up living down there. So there are really a couple groups that we think would be better to
Right.
target in this area.
So if you really look at who lives here, and where the need is for housing and density here, it's been identified actually by one of the planning department's consultants that it's really old people who raised families here. They live in housing that is relatively, for our area, pretty cheap. Single family houses that's too big for them. They're millennials. They're reaching over 70 years, and what they really need, and they'd probably like to stay in the same neighborhood. What they really need is much smaller places on ground floors, and I really like that recommendation that I saw in that report. Also, all over the county, there's a real problem attracting affordable housing for working class people, like firefighters, nurses, teachers, police have to live in other counties. And wouldn't we want those people to be familiar with the areas that they serve instead of having to go to totally different environments? So we think that if we got everybody together and we did this sort of equitable development, that we could serve both in this parking lot that that they're talking about redeveloping, we could, both the elderly that are looking for smaller places, they would give up their homes and sell them to young people who are just starting out that could afford those homes, and that we would have a place for the county workforce to be in that it would actually enable them to have affordable housing and have better roots in the community they serve.
Yeah. So now that we've talked a lot about kind of what the goals are, we can talk about the specific things that we really want here on the lot.
Right, and I also think there's things that are greater than just the development of this lot. One of our biggest concern is traffic on Georgia Avenue, which is the other border of our property, where over half a dozen people have died in the last 6 months through accidents. And if you look at the interactive map that said what do people in this area want, the number one issue is they wanted a light at Tilton Avenue. And we think if that isn't there, it's almost neglect, because we have 500 people living come in and out of Tilton Avenue for those buses, and there is no way to get across the street, and we're just asking for more people, more injuries.
And the fact is, we're Forest Glen West. The people across Georgia Avenue, that's Forest Glen East. We have a lot of differences of opinion, a lot of middle ground, but a lot of differences of opinion. But a light at Tilton is a place where we have all the common ground in the world. Everybody wants that. That's their main exit onto Georgia Avenue, and the people who want to take left turns out of Tilton have no idea what to do. They have to wait through large amounts of traffic, and it just makes it safer for everyone.
So if we really want to unite Forest Glen and start bringing people together from very different backgrounds, they're the wealthiest part of Forest Glen and all that that would be a good thing. Plus, it's about saving lives. So we think that is a really big thing. And
but speaking to the lot,
yeah.
Really, what we really want to see here is a community center, right? Not just in terms of a specific community center, but a gathering space. In the last sector plan, over 20 years ago, we were promised a green space here. And still, actually, according, I believe it was the presentation given at the June 4th meeting, we are the only area in this entire study boundary that has low park equity. We don't have a park that we can get to. And so having a green space, for one, but also a space that we can gather with our community, possibly a satellite library with workstations for people who are telecommuters, so they don't always have to go all the way into the city.
And childcare.
And more importantly, childcare. In that same report that I mentioned, or really the sector plan from 20 years ago, the only retail that they recommended that could be placed on this parking lot was a childcare center. And yet still there hasn't been any sort of movement on that.
And the need has grown, and you could imagine people getting off the metro right there, the entrance is right there, and being able to come and get their kids right away.
Plus there's Holy Crosses nearby. I know we've talked about with our community the possibility of working with them, whether it's to provide easy access for if we do have homes for the elderly living here, to provide access to the services through Holy Cross, or I'm sure they would want to use child care services because it's one of the closest places where you could have child care in the area. And I think a satellite library is still something that we really feel like is important.
We exist about halfway in between the two major libraries, so it's like a no man's zone if you want to read a book, and you can't afford Amazon every day to buy a book. So and if you're talking about something that really creates social capital, a library does that. It uplifts the people in the community.
Yeah, and so I think the last real big thing about the lot is talk about parking.
Right.
Like, parking is a big deal here. There are a lot of spots everywhere. You can see a few of them behind us. And previous zoning decisions have kind of hamstrung the people who live around here, specifically in the townhomes right to the northwest of here, who have to fight people who want to park in this parking lot for spots outside their homes. They don't have driveways. They don't have the ability to live anywhere. So even though I think that it is a real balance when we're talking about development between, the amount of housing and the parking that exists, we think it's important that parking goes here. We don't want it to be, we would love for it to stay in line with the last sector plan that said nothing over 4 stories at a maximum would be built here. But it's important that we maintain that parking for both commuters and for people in the area, so they're not negatively impacted by any sort of development that's going on.
And I think the other thing here is about retail. And if there is retail, we want retail that's for people who live here. We don't want to attract customers. That's what Montgomery Hills is about. We want just retail here, like a coffee shop, you know, a child care center, maybe a small grocery store. You can get a gallon of milk if you need it. But that's it. We don't need fancy resale. There's also places across the street that are more applicable for that. But we want people. This was a walking neighborhood that people can how do I say it? Congregate, right.
Congregate.
So this is a walking neighborhood. We want this to be a walking neighborhood where people can congregate. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the last real thing we want to talk about is access to the metro from this side of Forest Glen. You know, there's this tunnel that's being built, and it connects the northeast corner to the southwest corner. But, you know, really access for people who don't have the easiest time walking, whether it's people with disabilities or people who are getting on in years, they have to cross Forest Glen, or if they want to get down to this metro entrance, they have to go all the way around, walk all the way around all that way in order to get down, travel an extremely long period of time. So we really think that some sort of entrance on this side, whether it's to the tunnel or to the metro station, that's more easily accessible than the ramp that's provided, whether it's an elevator, would be really beneficial. You know, it would give people, it would make it a lot easier for people to be able to get into the metro for us as well. I mean, there's $20 million being spent on the tunnel, and that's mostly going to be benefiting people across the street from us. With the largest population, I think we should get some
Access.
sort of,
That's sort of the
access out of
equitable
it.
approach. Right?
Yeah, for sure. Is there anything else you really want to talk about?
No, that's fine.